I think about the ability to read and understand like the concepts behind just literacy and media.
I think media literacy most has to deal with how people look at the media that's giving them information and how they interpret that and what they take away from it. I mean, there are those media illiterate people who take everything at face value and believe everything they hear and don't ask any questions about it, whereas those who are more media literate really take the time to analyze a source or actually pay attention to what they're being given before assuming it as truth.
Basically, I decide just by how what interests me the most. I mean, obviously that's the foremost, but like if it deals with life, like wildlife or excitement, as in like adrenaline rush, stuff like that, it really gets me interested in it. So.
Well, I usually tend to watch things that have attractive people in it, and that's pretty much the only sort of what's the word I'm looking for? What? Criteria that I tend to use.
I basically pay attention to stuff that really is based off my own interests. So.
I look at the pictures. If the pictures tell me that the picture's worth 1,000 words, I don't need to read 1,000 words if the picture's good enough. I mean, why waste my time with the story when the picture says it all? So I look for the best pictures, and then I might read the story if it draws my interest. I guess the most media I've ever done would be like paperwork, like research papers or anything like that. Just translating my ideas to someone else in a way that they can hopefully understand it without being visual, like with my body or something. Otherwise, writing papers is probably the only way.
I do create types of media. I do a lot of photography, videos like this. I'm creating media right now that's usually shared through social networking, other online hosting. I know when I do videos, they go on YouTube. When I post photos, they go on Flickr. I share media through those outlets.
I usually produce videos and I post them on YouTube, stuff like that.
I have a blog, and I make sure that anything I put on my blog, I'm okay with anybody reading. I'm not going to share my deep, dark secrets there because it's a public forum. Anybody who wants to can find that URL and look at everything I've written since I set it up.
The only videos I've ever made that have made it onto social media would have to be Kate versus the coconut syrup.
I try to create media as responsibly as I can. When I'm putting photos on Facebook, I'm aware that all of my friends, my coworkers are seeing that. I'm Facebook friends with Vice President John Kearns, Debbie Nakashima, some of the HPU administrators, and I'm not interested in them seeing Facebook photos of me drinking or partying, so you won't find those on Facebook of me. Other people are less concerned with that, and that's a little bit scary. I don't think they realize the extent to which it can affect them, even after they maybe think they've taken those photos off of Facebook.
Most frequently I use videos, books, the internet, mostly TV. Probably the last two are probably the most used.
Where I go for my media, I really don't go anywhere. I let Rush Limbaugh tell me where to go. He gives me good sources. He's got a wide network, and from someone as educated as him, I really don't need to look for my own. When I have someone who can tell me where I should go, Rush Limbaugh is just the place to be. Just listen to him and you'll be fine.
I like news stories from there, so I guess that's kind of a newspaper online. But Yahoo, there's also, that's associated with email, trying to contact people and stuff. Facebook is a huge one. TV, there's the TV programs, reality TV shows, news. I don't really watch the news. Reality programs are good though.
Kind of I think media enhances it more than probably written, like newspapers and stuff like that, because the media, since it's more visual, you actually get to see it, and you get to see what's going on, and you get to see what's happening, where it seems to make it more realistic. And if you read it, it's just more, I don't know, your mind kind of creates this own version of it. So the media or the written kind of seems to not make it as fulfilled. Basically, anything that's like the Daily Show with Jon Stewart or something like that. I mean, it kind of gives you the news, but it's also, it's not as, I guess, reliable or realistic in the same sense, but it still gets the job done.
Don't think of it actually that often. If it's from a news story, I guess, like it's said it was in a paper, I find that more credible than just some random thing I find. But otherwise, I don't really look for where it comes from.
I look for unbiased reporting, and a lot of the times I feel strongly that media networks like Fox are the least biased. They have just solid reporting. The biased news stations are the ones that really bother me. They bug me the most. But Fox tends to be very unbiased. I love it. I love their network and the things that they produce for people that need to know information. Not like I already know, but Fox, where's that?
Well, always the first thing I do is kind of do a Wikipedia search. Not very good at all. Just to get, I guess, kind of get a general basis on things, but it's not a trustworthy source at all. I usually go through academic journals online, and they're limited to peer-reviewed journals published within a certain year. And also textbooks for at least the science majors aren't really good sources either. Things are always changing, always developing, nothing's ever set in stone. So really, it's the academic journals, peer-reviewed ones that have the highest credibility.
I also think there's an issue of the public being too willing to suspend their disbelief. When they look at the credibility of sources, they're willing to kind of put aside reality for a second, just because that's so often done for us. And that's a problem, because they're losing the integrity of whatever it is they're watching or taking in.
I think that just they need to tell the whole story and the truth of it all. They have to present both sides. I think that's what they're obligated to do. Morally, I don't think they should fudge facts or try to swing things kind of to sound better than they actually are.
It's amazing how you can frame things with a little bit of editing. You can completely change raw footage into something 100% different.
I like to think so, but I don't know. I think about like what a commercial is trying to aim at you and that kind of thing, or like what the message that's being conveyed on TV or in newsletters actually is. Sometimes it's much more hidden than what you would originally just straight read from the text or see on TV.
Let's see, I consider myself pretty media literate. I think that not enough people know about, the internal language of different media. I mean, right now I am not currently filming, but I am directing and producing this little video that you're watching right now. And as the audience, you don't necessarily have any idea how I've gone about that. There are these interviews. You don't know who these people are in relation to me. You don't know if they're my friends or superiors or subordinates or a boyfriend or anything like that. You don't know what their motivation is in helping me. You don't know if I've fed them their lines or if I'm particularly framing them in a way that makes them look like an idiot, which may or may not be the case.
Kings of Macedonia, Scythian Empire. Kings of Macedonia and the Scythian Empire.